$115,000. $115,000 a year. That is what this job pays. You know what? It is 100% remote. That means you can do this job from anywhere. And guess what? In this video, I'm going to be walking you through how to get this job. We're going to demystify the entire job description. Not only that, we're going to look at the resume that will help you get the interview. And then, you know what we're going to do next? We're going to now prepare you for interview. And trust me, you're going to nail this job. You've got this. Let's dive straight in. Let's go. Now, let's take a look at this role right here. The name of the company is Gold Belt. Gold Belt. Now, we're going to come back to look at what does the company do, what can you do for them, and what are the things that you can check when you're looking at this section here. But first of all, let's take a look at the job itself and let's review it. Now, this is security compliance specialist. Job description right here. But the first thing we're going to do is let's take a look at what they wrote here. It says, we hope you're interested in building a home with us. Even if you don't feel that you meet every requirement listed in this job description, we still encourage you to apply. This is what I tell my clients every time, and I tell my students. Don't think that you need to qualify or you need to meet every requirement. They advise you and they encourage you to apply, even if you feel that you don't meet all the requirements, because they know the reason why they have all the requirements there is because they want as many people as possible to be able to apply. And if you meet 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% of these requirements, it is good that you apply. Now, let's take a look at about the role. Like I always tell people, when you're trying to analyze a job that you want to apply for, or you're being called for interview, it is always very good for you to do a thorough analysis. We're going to look at about the role. It says, let's look at what they have here. As a security compliance specialist, you will help to demonstrate the sustained compliance of the company with requirement for protection of its high-value system and information asset. Now, they have some system that is termed as high value, all right? And they are information assets. Now, the scope of work extends across the corporate environment and its consumer delivery channels, and it addresses legal requirements and industry standards such as PCI DSS, SOX, ISO, HIPAA, and GDPR. What this simply means is if you know any of these regulatory requirements or standards, trust me, you're good to apply. And like I used to advise my students, you don't have to know everything for you to apply. And the ones you do not know, YouTube is your friend, Google is your friend, and I'm always here to guide you, okay? So your primary focus, reading this one right here, your primary focus is conducting internal PCI DSS assessment. Now, that is a clue right there. That is clue. We've not even gone to the responsibilities yet, right? We're still looking at what we have about the role. And from what we've seen now, one thing is very clear. You need to know PCI DSS. PCI DSS, very, very important, because that's what we're seeing right now. And let's continue. In addition to assisting all business unit function and functional team in scope for external PCI DSS compliance validation, this candidate will demonstrate industry experience around compliance with PCI DSS and related standard, and will have excellent analytical skills. Basically, all we have here is PCI DSS. And what are they talking about? You need to understand the requirement of PCI DSS. What does PCI DSS require of companies in order to comply? If you know that, trust me, you're good to go. And if you don't, you can read up about it. You can watch YouTube about it. All right. Now, when you get a job, you're basically going to be looking at their compliance document, and you're going to work with that with various stakeholders to ensure that they comply with everything in PCI DSS documentation. Okay. Let's look at the responsibilities, and we're going to take it one after the other. Right. Let's go. Plan, conduct, establish remediation plan for PCI assessment. You're going to plan, you will conduct and establish remediation plan. As simple as that. They have tools that they have as that houses their policy documents. So you're going to use that to plan and then conduct and establish remediation plans for PCI assessment, okay? And the reason is because when you're going through their PCI planning, you might find that they do not have some requirements, or they don't meet some requirements. Maybe they don't have controls that meet those requirements. What you want to do is to establish a remediation plan. Let's say, for instance, part of PCI DSS is that they must have firewall or they must have access control. Now, in your assessment, in your planning, you discover that they don't have that. What you have to do now is to establish a remediation plans to be able to plan for PCI assessment. Okay. The next one, actively engage business units at predetermined times to provide a summary of analysis of each business unit compliance posture at checkpoint throughout the year. This is basically you engaging business units at every time that you're going to set time. It could be monthly, it could be quarterly. You're going to meet each business unit, right? And they will provide the summary of each business unit compliance posture for you. Like each of the business unit, they will let you know this is the posture, all right, that we are right now. This is the compliance posture that we are right now. And what do we have to do to get better? Okay. The next one says that you need to identify and recommend changes in procedures, processes, and scope of delivery needed to demonstrate sustained compliance with PCI requirements. What that means is that you're going to be recommending some changes in their procedure. Procedure simply means how they do what they say they do. Okay. For instance, offboarding and onboarding. Offboarding is when employees are leaving. Onboarding is when they're bringing employees. Now, in that process, if there's a procedure that is faulty, that cannot help them to sustain PCI requirements, you need to recommend, you need to identify it first and recommend the changes that they have to do. Let's say, for instance, in PCI DSS, it is recommended that when you're offboarding an employee, you must do an interview, offboarding interview. And now you're taking a look at the process or the procedure, and you see that they do not do that interview. Now you've identified that. The next thing you have to do is to recommend that they have to do the interview. That is basically what this is talking about. Now let's look at the next one. Assist with PCI DSS compliance checklist, including review and validation of existing controls, documentation, and any potential gap. This is very easy to do. What they're basically saying is that there's a checklist, all right? As of now, I think PCI is about 12 requirements, and there's a checklist that speaks to all these requirements. Now, you're going to be working with this checklist from PCI DSS to see that is this company abiding by everything in this checklist? Are we doing everything? Now, if you find that they're doing it, then you need to validate the control. Like, are those controls working? Controls are things put in place to mitigate any incident, any security incident, right? Like firewall, like access control, like having screensaver, things like that. All right, those are controls. So you want to find out, are they really working? Okay, and then you're going to document them and all the gaps that you find there. That is what that is about. Here, this one says as well, provide management guidance and expertise for all PCI gaps. That's the same thing that we've talked about. Now, let's take a look at this last part. Reduce the company's overall PCI DSS scope. Very easy to do. Deploy quarterly phishing simulation. This one is interesting. Now, what you're seeing here is just basically saying that they want you to do a phishing simulation and train their employees, and that's very easy to do. One of the popular tools they use for that is KnowBe4, right? KnowBe4 is a tool that you can post the email of all your employees, and you're going to click and select the training you want to do or the simulation you want to do. Once you click that and you send it, all the employees will receive it in their email address. That is basically what this is about. And they're saying that you're going to do it quarterly. So when you're going for this interview, everything I've said now, you must be able to create scenarios. You must be able to talk about them, that you've accomplished them, you've done them, you've trained people, you've done PCI DSS. That is basically what all this is about. Now, this is the criteria. Don't forget that they said if you don't meet all these requirements, don't be deterred. That doesn't mean you shouldn't apply. Trust me, what I would suggest that you know is, number one, is you should know PCI DSS. All right. You see, this requirement with their bachelor's degree, 4 years experience, again, it is not a must that you have that. If you don't, but you have the experience and you can prove it, in interview, trust me, you're good to apply. Okay. And then technical competence required. You can take a look at these as well. These are very, very easy things to come by. They're not, trust me, they're not tough. Now, let's take a look at the resume. Or before we go ahead and look at the resume, let's look at the company itself. This is who we are. What do they do? Let's look at about them. Local focus, global reach. So, Gold Belt is committed to making a significant and positive difference in the lives of our shareholders. Their vision is a successful Alaska Open Native Corporation owned by Native. It is dedicated to building a bright future for shareholders. So you need to be able to read about them. What are they about? What do they do? See what we do here. Capabilities, federal government contracting. Basically, these people get contract from federal government, from what we can see here. And let's take a look at their capabilities. You see, so this is basically what it is all about. So try read about them, and you can also look at the career page as well and see what they have there. Okay, and take a look at all the amazing benefits that they have. See, these amazing benefits here make sense. So I would advise that you go through that. Now let's take a look at the resume that will get you an interview. You have your name, you have your city, your zip code, your phone number, your email. I always advise that you have your LinkedIn profile, the URL as well. Then your professional summary, your skills, the experience, and then your accomplishment and your education. This is how this resume you're seeing here is Harvard style resume. This is from Harvard. All right. This is Harvard style resume. And trust me, this is the best. So this is the resume that will get you an interview. Now let's talk about nailing the interview when you get one. There are two things that you need to know. Number one, you must understand about the role. It's very, very important. Make sure the same way we've just gone through it and analyze it, it's important that you go through about the role. Understand it very well. Like, you have to know this. And then the next thing is know the responsibilities. All right. And the last thing that you have to know is everything in your experience, in your resume, everything you have as experience in your resume. It is important that you know everything. Okay. And when they tell you to introduce yourself, you can talk about your experience here in your resume. You can talk about your experience. Not only that, you're also going to talk about how you're good, how you're fit for this role here. All right. So that is basically how you're going to nail the interview, and ensure that you ask them questions. And if you want me to send you some questions that you can ask during the interview, you can comment in the section below, and I'm going to do my best to ensure that I send you the list of questions that you can ask during interview. And this is not specific to cybersecurity alone. All right. I'm going to send you the list of the questions that you can ask during the interview that will provoke some conversation and turn the entire interview in your favor. All right, guys, if you get this job, or when you get this job, let me know. When you apply and you take, if you get this resume and you're able to use it, and you get the interview and you get the job, let me know. All right, I'm going to be in the comment section. All right, guys, I'm going to come again another time with an exciting job opportunity. See you another time.